All righty. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brock Beard from NASCAR.info, albeit without the facial hair. Welcome back, everyone. We are coming to you just after the conclusion of the Real Heroes 400 at Darlington, the first NASCAR event to be run since the season was suspended back in March. First of all, I have to give major kudos over to Fox Sports and the team over there, as well as the people at NASCAR, for doing their very utmost to actually put on a race here that was very entertaining and definitely a good show out there. It was very enjoyable. Also very enjoyable to watch Darlington race. That was a classic event that was run during the day, something that you just don't get to see in quite a while. So very much fun. Typically, I do like these. I've done these other live streams after the races on the second channel. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this around a little bit. So any of the post-race live streams I'll do will be here on the main channel, and any of their commentary subjects or commentary videos that are done later on, that's going to be put on the. We're going to put that on the second channel there. So any other news stories that come up here. So we'll try this and put that on the main deal here. So again, hope you all enjoyed the race there. That was certainly it was such a relief. Of course, you can't express it enough there. How fun it was to hear the races going on again there, and seeing Kevin Harvick put on a good show out there, and Kurt Busch, and I mean Matt Kenseth coming out getting the top 10 here. John Hunter Nemechek getting the top 10 after having this is a track that I really didn't expect him to do. Perform very well on, given how aggressive he is, and this race being one that you most famously have to race the racetrack on. Very different scenario there, but yeah, it's going to be a very different scenario. But I think there's a lot of positives to take from it. Certainly, we're all hoping that it's going to be sooner rather than later before we're able to get media and fans and everybody else, concessions and everybody else at the track back there. I know there were some pictures posted recently about Indianapolis putting in some signs talking about social distancing and things of that nature. So I think that's good. But yeah, I mean, definitely a very enjoyable event, I gotta say, and not just the crazy last place finish battle. Turned out to be over quite quicker than anticipated. I mean, I think we were all thinking that it was going to be a wreck there the first couple of laps with no practice and no qualifying. Didn't immediately think that it was going to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. At the very beginning of the race, and that incident there on the back straightaway ultimately basically settled that very quickly before any incidents there. So it will be a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. article. Pending the results from inspection. We're not going to go the full distance there waiting for inspection results. So we changed the format on that this year. But if that does not change, it will be a Stenhouse article, and we'll have that up later tonight. Also, kudos to B.J. McLeod for being able to field his own Cup Series car for the first time. I think that was a great deal. Unfortunately, they had some mechanical issues at the beginning. Apparently, the engine just let go there in the first 20 laps and had to pull the car off the track. No issues with temperatures inside the engine or the oil or water temperatures there. The transmissions from the spotter seemed to indicate that it was something sudden that the car just wouldn't pull and had to pull behind the wall. There was also a fuel cell issue for Quinn Houff and the Starcom Racing team that put them several laps back. Looking at the unofficial results, Houff was able to climb to the 36th spot there. Terrible luck for Jimmy Johnson, who after his great run at Fontana recently seemed to pick up right where he left off, and having a great run there up front. Looking like he was going to win the first stage, closing in on Chris Buescher there on the back straightaway. The two of them made contact, and Johnson spun into the outside wall, ultimately ending his day. But a great run for him. I think he's certainly going to be very hungry to pick up where he left off on Wednesday. We'll see if the backup car or if this same car, if they're able to. I don't see them fixing it in 2 days, but I mean, hey, or 3 days. But crazier things have happened, I suppose. But I'm sure they got another car that they could put together there for him and the 48 team. Hendrick seemed like they had really something going there in general. Johnson, of course, at the beginning. William Byron afterwards picking up a stage win, and then ultimately slipping himself and hitting the outside wall. He even managed to stay within about 7 laps of the leader until pretty late in the race. I believe he was about 13 to 15 laps down by the finish. Let's see, where is it? It shows, okay, actually it shows 7 laps down here, 14 overall behind the leader. the 35th spot for William Byron. Also, the same deal with some of the other teams that were popping up here. I mentioned BJ McLeod's team. Is also good to see Tommy Baldwin racing back out there. Josh Balicki finishing in the 34th spot. Unfortunately, it looked like they didn't have a channel, at least not publicly available at the time I was listening to it, to listen to TBR make their return to the Cup Series of the number 7 car. But good to see that they finished under power just within 7 laps of leader. So a good deal from that. But yeah, Jimmy Johnson was really impressive to see. Of course, for those of you going even further back in the sport, it was Johnson who actually won the most recent spring race at Darlington back when they had 2 races a year. He won the spring race in 2004. Of course, we've had spring races at Darlington the years since, back when it was basically the Mother 500, I would always call it, when it was on Mother's Day weekend in May. And I believe even Matt Kenseth's win in 2013 was like in April, so it's like right in that frame. But certainly different circumstances we're going to see this week between this race, the Xfinity race on Tuesday, and the other Cup race coming up on Wednesday. I'm already working on an entry list storylines article, a secondary one that's going to be posted tomorrow. That will be a preview for both the Xfinity Series race as well as Wednesday's Cup race at Darlington. We'll probably do an article on Thursday that'll be a preview for the Coca-Cola 600 on Sunday, and we're going to play it by ear from there about when we're able to do updates on the entry list, because I think that it really helps me, first of all, to kind of keep track of the team changes and driver changes, and it kind of helps set up some of the stories there. So look forward to some more content on the website, not just the articles on the last place finishers, but also on the previews for the upcoming events. Certainly looking to also, because these races are now being scheduled at different times, I'm going to go ahead and post the Cup Series article tonight and try to do some more deals there. Just kind of post the articles for the races on the day of and keep things going in the circulation there. So yeah, a very interesting situation there. Very interesting race. A lot of things to kind of take from it. Good to see. It looks like Joe Gibbs Racing has figured something out during the time of the pandemic. That they were nose to tail. 3 of their 4 cars were right up there without Kyle Busch. And Kyle was very likely going to be up there had he not hit the wall a couple of times and had an unscheduled stop there towards the end. But Truex, Hamlin, and Eric Jones having a good run. Jones showing that his win in the Southern 500 last year was certainly no fluke. Him showing again another great run at Darlington. But just really exciting to see. I think there's a lot of positives to take from it. One thing I thought was really nice was the use of the drone footage, which I think was kind of just a trendy kind of iffy kind of thing that Fox had done before. But them actually using that in a sense where they don't have pit reporters and other people on there, I think it was really good to kind of actually show more of the track. I think where it's particularly useful was in the victory donuts on the front straightaway. Maybe when we return to racing, that's something that Fox could look into, and maybe NBC as well, as a replacement for bringing the commentator out there to do the interview with the driver and maybe staying out of photographer's shots so that the network gets their great shot of the car with the drone, but the photographers still get their great shots of the car. Because I'm still not a big fan of them doing the drivers and the commentators coming out on the track. I know that's ruined a great number of shots the last couple of years. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about a lot of things, because I think there's a lot of positives to take from it. But in my mind, a lot of the complaints about it are kind of part of getting back to normal again. And I think that's another positive sign there. So, and again, I don't want any of that to take away from the efforts, certainly of both Fox Sports as well as NASCAR themselves and the drivers and crews personally, that they've had to completely reorganize things under very difficult circumstances, much like the start of the iRacing Pro Invitational Series earlier this year. Just kind of coming up with this new protocol and going with it. I think this is a very big moment for the sport. I certainly hope that it's attracted a lot of good viewers there. I think this is a good race to introduce people to it. I think Fox did a good job to actually kind of emphasize more the basics of the sport, which I know some have been very critical of for longtime viewers, that they don't need to be hearing constantly about what makes a car tight or loose. But it's something that new viewers aren't familiar with, and I'm glad that they were aware of it. It was something that I was very critical of for Fox a few years ago, where Dale Jr. retired and other drivers were retiring, and they needed to have more of a focus on the drivers who were still there. I think this showed, whereas I think there was a missed opportunity back then, I think this was an opportunity that was really taken advantage of here. So I think they did a really good job with that. And yeah, and in spite of the lack of practice or qualifying, I think the drivers showed tremendous skill in not making this a complete circus that it seemed like it was going to be. Looking at some of those other last place finishers that didn't complete the first lap of the race, the ones that were all caused by accidents, some were by engine failures, but the ones that were by accidents were all multi-car accidents. There was one, I believe, I think one like 1980 with Neil Bonnet, where it collected like 7 or 8 cars that didn't finish the first lap. So definitely in this case, where Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was the only driver that was eliminated, 32 car cleared the crash clock. Apparently, he was the one that he merged into on that incident. You know, definitely a big difference. Of course, the racing itself has changed so much since then, but a different deal there. But yeah, great job by the competitors. Great job by the broadcasters. I think again, a lot of good positives to look for this, and being very excited about where we go from here into the Xfinity race on Tuesday, as well as the Cup Series again on Wednesday. Not a big fan of Kyle Busch running all the races, but you know, it's an interesting twist after we left this series, looking like we were going to have bounty races starting in Atlanta for the Truck Series with Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott and others competing against each other. And now suddenly we have Kyle Busch running all the races, including the Truck Series race next week in Charlotte. Does that mean it's going to be a bounty race in Charlotte or not? I don't know. The opportunity is there if they're going to have 40 truck fields as well as the 40 car field in the Xfinity Series. Very excited about that, and seeing teams like Morgan Shepherd's team and Mike Harmon's that were being pushed to the wayside just a few weeks ago because of the field reduction to 36 cars. The Xfinity Series now seeing kind of a reversal on that, and making things more interesting going forward. So I think that's going to be good to see. Also mentioned JJ Yaley. Got to make sure and give a shout out to him. He was on the lead lap for much of the distance in the Cup Series race. Lost a lap late in the third stage there. Where did he finish there? I think he was still ahead of Chris Buescher in some of them. 27 car wasn't up that high. 28th position, 2 laps down. First car 2 laps down. So he did lose a couple laps at the end. But a great run for him. Premium Motorsports merged into Rick Ware Racing. One of the big technological movements that was rumored back at Fontana, but has apparently gone forward because we've seen shots of Rick Ware's cars over Premium. And apparently the sponsor really liked the number 27, so they've adopted that as part of their 3-car lineup with 53 and the 51. Gray Galding going to run the 27 car in Wednesday's race with Panini as the returning sponsor after Yaley having a good run here in this, and Galding having as good a season as he did in the Xfinity Series last year. Going to be very interested to see what he can do in Wednesday's race. So again, this is the greatest thing to see with the sport here, is picking up some new storylines that we can kind of carry on forward there. A lot of good was had. I know Ryan Newman had a bit of struggles there, but we got to see him compete for a good run there, and being up there before he had that incident. Looked like he was trying to come on the pit road late in the race and lost a few spots, but a great showing for him. Good to see him back at the track. I guess that's the one drawback, is you have the series returning here, and you have Matt Kenseth coming out of, well, not really retirement, but at least out of being absent of the sport for a while. Ryan Newman back from his injury, you know, running at Darlington in the spring for the first time in years, and unfortunately no fans and very little media there. But, you know, again, working under these circumstances, hopefully it's only going to be a temporary fix, and we get back to this very soon. But again, a lot of positives from here. Very excited about it. Feels like speed weeks, quite honestly. Having a time where you have multiple races during the week and not just being satisfied with one. So already ready for Xfinity this week, and the Cup Series race. We'll do the live stream or live tweets there from the last place finisher battle. I hate it for those that were following in this one here because it was settled so quickly. So I try to kind of fill in the gaps with some other stuff there in the race that we like to do. Of course, the other people finishing towards the bottom of the field kind of had some interesting stories there, but I think it's going to be interesting there. But yeah, not a Craven versus Busch kind of finish like 2003, but you can't count on that all the time. But I think it was definitely an interesting race with some comers and goers there. People that were actually competitive and then falling back, and other guys becoming more dominant there. And certainly getting more than a 400-mile race at Darlington, still quite the gauntlet. A 3.5-hour race, I believe it was, the final tally. still makes for a challenging event. This was no picnic out there for those guys, and it's going to be very interesting. We thought the Pocono doubleheader was going to be crazy at the end of June, assuming that's still going. But seeing a doubleheader at Darlington with just a couple days in between, these drivers are going to need as much rest as they can get before things get going there. I guess Ricky Stenhouse is going to have an advantage in that sense. Perhaps he'll bounce back here in the backup car, the number 47, and try to gain back some of those lost points from what is now his worst finish of the year, pending the results from technical inspection. But yeah, good to see. Yeah, Chase Elliott was looking good again. I know he had a couple races slip away from him in the spring. I believe he was good at Las Vegas, and he had a wreck there. Some of these other tracks that he kind of got shaken out in. Had the wreck on the last lap at Daytona before the Ryan Newman incident. So it's a good run there. But yeah, I mean, the Hendrick guys are looking good. Bowman certainly feeling it after his contract extension through next year. So he was right up there up front. This was a really good, I think, introduction for people who aren't into the sport. Maybe it isn't the craziest race, the most exciting. You got Talladega coming up. That's already been confirmed for this stretch into June. And some of these other venues here. But Darlington is the granddaddy. For those of you that are in here, I see we got 31 people in here. So for those of you that are new to the live stream and new to NASCAR, again, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the race today. And, there's plenty more where that came from. Darlington is one of the most, if not the most difficult tracks out there. It is a track that I've covered a couple times for my website. And when I'm there, I'm struck by how narrow that groove is. When you stand in the infield, those cars shouldn't be able to go as fast as they are around this track. The old breakdown lane and banking there that they run from back in the 50s there, the tolerances are so narrow that if you just step out just a little bit, we saw that a lot in today's race. It's not just like Atlantic Castle's qualifying challenge there where if you just scuff the wall a little bit, you're out of the race. You can scuff it just a little bit harder, and it can just completely ruin your day completely. And we saw that a number of times with a lot of these competitors out there. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of stories that people can really enjoy from this. I hope you are interested in some of these competitors out there. They have very different personalities, very different teams that compete against each other. We have some at the back of the field that are trying to just kind of compete against each other. And, the other ones towards the front that are actually trying to compete for the win. Kind of adds an interesting layer of complexion to NASCAR, and certainly one of the reasons that I've been a fan of it. I hope that certainly some new fans were made today, or perhaps some that fell out of the sport were open to returning back to the fold again today. I think that would be encouraging there. But yeah, I hope that Jimmy Johnson bounces back this week. I think that would be a great story. It was certainly thrilling to see him gobble up that deficit that he had to Alex Bowman under challenging circumstances and similar equipment. But getting up there was a great run for him. And those are the kind of things that you see in racing. That's what keeps all of us watching. So again, I think it's a solid start. The Xfinity Series is coming up. For those of you again new to the sport, the Xfinity Series is basically the second tier division. You have a lot of smaller teams and other competitors that are kind of working their way up the ladder. Basically, all the rookies that are in the Cup Series this year, or at least the top three of them at least, came from the Xfinity Series and dominated it last year. And the people that are going to be rookies going forward are going to be among the people that you'll see in the Xfinity race tomorrow. Although Kyle Busch promises to have a strong car, but he's not completely unstoppable. You forget the last time that he ran the 54 car back at Phoenix in the spring, he lost to Brandon Jones, his teammate there, and much to the dismay of Kamikaze Games and some others. But the 19 car pulled off the victory there, and Harrison Burton won at Fontana earlier this year. The Gibbs Xfinity program seems to be firing on all cylinders, and they'll go against the Fords of Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, and some of these other guys. And, of course, we'll be looking at the back of the field where guys like Mike Harmon and Morgan Shepherd are going to look to take full advantage of being able to start the 40-car field. Or I guess that's 39 cars listed last I checked on that, and that's going to be interesting to see. Yep, yeah, no mustache on here. I didn't like the mustache. I should have put it up to a poll or anything, but quite honestly, it wasn't working for me. I'll tell you, I had done some minor things, trying this and that. Again, for those of you who don't know, I actually work in the emergency room registering patients. I actually came off of a shift just this morning, so we have to stay as clean shaven as possible. I kind of had to compromise a little bit here because when I go completely clean shaven, I don't really like how it looks. So I'm just doing the stubble for right now. But we'll grow things out a little bit later and try something different there. And going forward. Also, again, big thanks to everybody who checked out the trailer for my new video that's coming up. It's going to be why Sears Point was awesome, or is awesome. I knew I was going to slip and say that. Not was, is. It's coming back. For those of you, again, new to the sport, Sears Point is one of only 2 road courses, not counting the Roval that runs in the fall, but that's a whole other mess. One of 2 actually purposely designed road courses on the Cup Series schedule, located about an hour north of San Francisco. Of course, with the restrictions, as everybody works to get back to work, they unfortunately couldn't run their race that's coming up. It was originally going to be scheduled for Father's Day weekend in the middle of June. They couldn't postpone the date. So at the earliest, we're looking at a date in 2021. For those of you who are not familiar with the track, stay tuned to this YouTube channel. In the next couple of weeks, I hope to get that video finished. Those are my Patreon, patreon.com/LastCarOnBrock. We'll be able to have access to that video first, and then I'll post it publicly soon after. Probably do a YouTube premiere again because that was pretty popular for my last one. And that'll give you a pretty good indication from somebody that grew up in this area about why that track has been so special in the Cup Series, specifically stock car racing in general, not just Cup Series, the Winston West Series as well, and kind of branching off into that. Yeah, that's gonna be something coming up forward. And I actually have another script on another video that's gonna be coming up after the Sears Point one. That's still coming together. I hope to have an announcement on that pretty soon as well. I'm gonna start working on the script is pretty much ready. We're gonna start editing that and getting that down. Also, big thanks again to members of the Patreon because I picked this up recently. I wasn't really happy with the audio quality in some of the other videos that I was doing. I got a new pop filter for this microphone. If you listen to some of the other videos, at least when I listen to it on like the speakers, the plosive P's in there sound a little harsh on the mic. So I got a new pop filter on this. So hopefully the future videos are going to sound a bit better. So we're definitely putting this back into the videos and everything, and hope that this certainly is going to be one of the things that helps do that. Thanks to Kappa Kaiju's channel on YouTube. That was where I was looking into that. Again, big thanks. I see a super chat in here. Beast of Metal 1989, one of the big fans here at the site. Again, thanks again for your support, and thank you, of course, for the super chat. I, for one, love seeing Rowdy get owned by an Xfinity regular simply on the basis of my argument that him and the other interlopers are, in fact, detrimental to the development of the young drivers. Well, that's a very good point. And that's one of the things that makes the Xfinity Series great, and I guess Kyle Busch tolerable, is that the potential that a highly funded team and driver can come into the Xfinity Series and still get beaten by a kid that's trying to work his way up the ladder. And that was certainly the case with Brandon Jones back at Phoenix earlier this year. So let's see what we got here. Let me just check out here on the comments here. I know if I've ignored your comment here, I apologize. I'm just browsing right through here. Don't have the Truck Series entry list yet. Okay, we'll see what happens on that. Yeah, Jimmy looked like he really had a good piece there. But again, and for those of you, I made mention of this on Twitter earlier. The 2002 race, if you watch the Carolina Dodge Dealers 400 from 2002, there's a very brutal accident that happened midway through the race under very similar circumstances to the Jimmy Johnson one. The incident basically, I'll see if there's a clip of it and I can put it in the chat here for you guys. But in 2002, Tony Stewart was well on his way towards winning an elusive race at Darlington. And unfortunately, when he retired, he never did win at Darlington, at least not in the Cup Series. But Stewart was cruising in that race. Unfortunately, he was working his way through lap traffic and caught up to Buckshot Jones, who hit the wall in turn 2. Stewart was catching up to him there, and as you saw with Jimmy Johnson and Chris Buescher in today's race, often when you close up on a car that quickly, there's no way to really get out of the way, and you end up just running the guy over. In Stewart's case, the closing rate was much quicker than in Jimmy's case, so it resulted in an accident, and other drivers piled in there. I believe Jimmy Spencer and Ken Schrader took some pretty hard hits in that. So that was another issue in that event. Let me see, Darlington Crash Stewards. Let's see if they at least have the full race on there. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Logano Fan 22 has posted the video. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat so you can check it out yourself on there. And Stewards. Whoop, hello. I run out of battery on the keyboard already. Okay, here we go. Stewart Crash 2002. Boom. All right. And well, this is what the great thing with the sport there too is kind of looking at the history there and what happened there. But yeah, but that was one thing that it immediately reminded me of is the closing rate. Tires wear off so quickly, the cars drop off the pace. Lap traffic is very hard to navigate. I was very surprised that Reed Sorensen didn't lose more laps than he did, because it seemed like every shot of somebody passing slow traffic was, that 7 car dropping back in the field there. So that was a crazy set of circumstances. And ultimately, Sorensen ended up just 2 laps down in the 29th spot. So a good run for him, too. I guess the Rick Ware premium merger, or whatever form it's taking, seems like Rick Ware is pretty much just kind of, they're at the forefront there from what I'm seeing the information so far. That's going to be an interesting deal there. Oh yeah, and Kyle, yeah, I see your comment there on Blue Emu. Yeah, what a stretch they've had between hosting the infamous race on the Monza Oval earlier, and then having the situation with Bubba Wallace, which I think was again blown way out of proportion on that one. I mean, I said this earlier, and I do feel bad about doing an article on Bubba Wallace rage quitting that iRace at Bristol, but I thought it was funny, and it fit in with all the other last place finishers we were having. We had Clint Boyer blowing an engine in Richmond, which you're not supposed to be able to do in a sim race. We had Denny Hamlin's monitor get turned off. We had I think there was a race in the replacement series where people had internet connection issues. I didn't take any of those iRacing articles really all that seriously, because that was my intention, was that's what the iRacing series is meant to be, is that Pro Invitational thing was fun, and it was a great way to wrap it up by doing the Wilkesboro race too on top of that. So it's unfortunate that I hope that Bubba's not having any prolonged issues with that on the 43 team. It looks like he's still got good partners there. Obviously, Worldwide Technology still on the 43 again today at Darlington, and hope that helps out there. But I just noticed my battery's conking out on the computer here. Okay, get this other screen pulled down. I got to get this charged back up for the Tuesday race. All right, I'm glad I took a picture of my Phoenix setup, because I had a really hard time getting everything locked up here. I had to dust the hat off and get my earplugs back out here and everything else. But I think we should be good to go looking ahead there. But yeah, I would have liked, I know that's already wrapped up there, but I would have liked in the iRacing thing if they let the iRacing competitors go in there and go toe-to-toe with the Cup guys. I think I mentioned briefly Landon Castle's qualifying challenge the other day. I think that was a perfect example of why they needed to do that, because Denny Hamlin was in there as well as Timmy Hill, and you got to see them match up against some of these like great sim racers out there. And Hill and Hamlin ended up kind of further down the rankings, and certainly weren't the winner overall. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it yet. The full video is on NASCAR's channel there. But it was a really entertaining video. And again, congratulations to Landon Castle and Blue Emu and Select Blinds there for joining as sponsor to put up the $10,000 pot there, really for drivers to compete there. That was really enjoyable, and I hope that there's opportunities for more of those qualifying videos, because I still like watching old qualifying series on YouTube there. So watching something new like that where you don't know the outcome was quite exciting. So kudos there to Landon and everybody involved in that. Thank you, Keith. I see your comment there. Yeah, again, I work with some folks over in the inner city hospital here, a ways across town there. Again, the people I work with are much more in direct contact with the people that are dealing with this than I have been. I'm basically just the greeter that people see on the way in and then again on the way out. But the people that are working the emergency room, the doctors, the nurses, technicians, and especially the people also that are working upstairs in the ICU units, those are the people that are really putting everything on the line there. It's a pleasure to be a part of the system there, but they are much more the glue that holds it together. And I was glad to see again, kudos again to Fox and the NASCAR for doing a lot to honor the work that's being done by frontline workers, not just in the medical field, but well outside of it as well. Those working in retail, grocery stores, the retail stores that have been open, and some other places like that. Fast food workers, any other people that are just kind of keeping us going. It's been a long haul. I know that it's taken a lot just to get to this point in Darlington. But I think that it's interesting to it's good to see that that's being honored and everything. And it's I've sometimes criticized sometimes things in American culture where the hero culture sometimes only looks at people in uniform that that yes are absolutely deserving of respect. People in the military, people in firefighters, police officers, and others there. But I'm very glad to see an embracing of people, in the medical field, and again, especially frontline workers who maybe have, jobs that are a bit not really appreciated as much. But somebody made this point online a while back and said, like, look, I better not hear another, crack about somebody like, making fun of somebody for working in fast food and saying you want fries with that or something like that. It's like, look, those guys out there, they, I've seen some of those guys on the way, the way to work and stuff like that, still working the same long hours and working with very little protection. And food handling, you got to work to a whole other standard and stuff like that. So I have nothing but respect for them as well. And it's good to see that that being done on there too. So without getting too far into that, but yeah, certainly definitely want to extend my appreciation on that as well. But again, hoping that we get to a point here where we get some semblance of normalcy. And again, today was certainly a good step towards that as well. Let's see. Ryan Preece winning 3 poles and Ty Dillon starting second. Well, that was a good, my goodness. Preece seemed like he was going to be on the threat of winning any of those races leading into this, but it was good to see that stories like that could develop, that you could see people that started to figure out the racing before other people, and I think that made it really really enjoyable on that. So that's kind of a different deal there. But yeah, certainly glad to get back to regular racing, and really kind of rushing up on what happened the first 4 races of the year. I'd originally thought, and I want to mention this too, I'd originally thought about doing some videos to kind of sum up the first 4 races of the season, do one for Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks. I ended up shelving that when some of these other videos started kind of coming together. And I'm glad I did, because it turned out that there's some very good videos. I retweeted them on my Twitter account at NASCAR on Brock. There was one that Ken Squire did that was outstanding, another one that Jeff Gordon did, and even a brief promo that Dale Jr. did. All 3 of those are retweeted on my account. Definitely recommend, if you haven't seen those already, definitely watch those. That really captures the emotion of coming back into racing again and trying to find some sense of normalcy after a very traumatic kind of collective experience, as has been the case worldwide, really, in this one. One may think back to the return to racing at Dover after the September 11th attacks, but then now we have one that's even of a higher scope of internationally. It's almost hard to fathom, but I can't express again how thankful I am that NASCAR is able to be a part of this effort to kind of get people back into the swing of things and get us towards that sign there. And I'm very proud of what's going on with that. So that's good. That's certainly good to see. Any thoughts on Nashville Fairgrounds getting added to iRacing? No thoughts that much. I'm not really much of a sim racer myself, but I really do enjoy the details that they added to North Wilkesboro, for example. So I'd be looking forward to see what they do with Nashville as well. One thing I thought was interesting during the Wilkesboro race last week was the addition of a little gravel trap in the infield. There's some pictures that I received from the Mike Demire's family of J.D. McDuffie getting his car worked on in the spring 1991. And you could see that the cars were working on in kind of a valley, and there was you can see those same stones kind of lined up next to it. And it was really hard to place that, because when I first saw that, I thought it was maybe outside the track, that maybe the stones were part of the foundation in the corners or something. But you see it in sim race, and you see that, yeah, it was in the infield, and that was kind of this depression where the haulers, I guess, were and everything. So it was cool to see that. I think the historian in me very much likes them bringing these old tracks into iRacing, and they certainly worked their tails off to make them as accurate as possible. Not just how it looks, but picking a time period to when to make them look. And then if they're going to run like throwback Chevys and Fords at Wilkesboro, and I imagine doing the same thing at Nashville, even though their last race was back in like '84. That's a great step too. I'm really excited about what kind of paint schemes people are churning out. I hope that they spring for bringing Pontiacs, Buicks, and Oldsmobiles into it too, and just going the full nine yards on that. I think that would be good to see. But that'll be a good deal. Oh gosh, yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I didn't tap into this here. I was thinking about the iRace here. I'm sorry. You mentioned Ryan Preece and Ty Dillon. Yeah, that's right. The inversion for the Cup race. I completely blew that. See, I got to get out of iRacing mentality. Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're switching that around for Wednesday's race, and certainly a trial for, I suppose, where they're going to look at it Pocono in June, assuming that still goes forward. Looks like so far it is, but we'll find out. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see. That's going to be very interesting. And we'll I mean, certainly when you have the lineup there and Brad Keselowski and Alex Bowman kind of falling into line pretty quickly, of course having an incident at the same time, will we see that with Ryan Preece and Ty Dillon? I don't know. Again, as I mentioned, Preece did have a good run the iRacing thing, but this is this is certainly a very different scenario with everything going on there. Yeah, this is going to be. It's gonna be weird. I think Fox is doing a lot there to actually try to kind of hide the grandstands and not show them that much. The one thing that's nice about NASCAR versus these other sports, you don't have to pump in crowd noise because the cars drown out the noise anyway. Now when things are the most exciting, and this was certainly the case with Johnson back at Fontana, you could hear the crowd very clearly when he was taking the lead there in a portion of the race there. So that was something going forward. And kind of to follow up on my retirement video earlier about driver retirements, we're certainly looking ahead to Jimmy Johnson's retirement season concluding this year. Said that he's still going to be retiring at the end of 2020. So we are still looking at covering the Phoenix race in the fall. It's going to be very difficult to get in because it's the first time they're hosting the championship race. We covered it the last 2 years, but that's certainly no guarantee. For somebody like myself, that's outside outside the mainstream there as an independent. One thing that I've considered, and I was looking into this last night, was applying to the National Motorsports Press Association. That's something that I've kind of been thinking of there too. Now that's also an approval process. Who knows if that's going to work or not? But NASCAR has been my website there since 2009. We've been able to build. Again, you guys here in the chat are one of the the big ways that I've been able to measure the passion that you guys share for following these stories. And I again appreciate your guys' support. But that's another thing that we're looking at to kind of keep the site growing and kind of keep its foot in the door there, and maybe that'll help us get further down the line there and covering some of these races. Haven't planned yet on which race. I mean, since Sears Point's been postponed until next year. And I do call it Sears Point. I don't like calling it Sonoma or Infineon. This will be also covered in the video coming up. I haven't ruled out the possibility of covering another race later this year. We're still working on that. That's going to depend on a number of moving parts here. Of course, I'll keep you guys posted on that if things change there. We're looking to kind of try to find some kind of some race that we can get the very most out of, and especially if the season's going to be reorganized in such a way. If there's a way we can link more than one event together like we did last year and get the very most out of one set of airfare, perhaps that's going to be the approach that we're going to take. But, at the absolute worst case scenario, and that's not really the worst case scenario, we would just be doing Phoenix at the end of the year and looking ahead towards 2021 and kind of getting our feet back under us that season. But it's going to be interesting. Watkins Glen, I'm certainly open to that. Big thanks again to Charlie Birch and his wife Tammy up there in New York, who have been huge supporters of myself, and especially I really value their friendship and support along the way in researching the J.D. McDuffie book. I was fortunate to go to Watkins Glen a couple of years ago for our book premiere there. And again, thanks to Andy Monosaki and the WTM 18 crew up in Elmira for getting the book some attention there. Unfortunately, we couldn't get credentialed for that weekend, which was a little bizarre, but we worked around it as best we could there. We were able to get J.D. McDuffie's daughter, Linda, and her spouse, Wendy, credentialed there. So they were able to go through the garage area, and they looked like they had a great weekend there. So under the circumstances, but we'll see how things go on that. I haven't ruled out doing Watkins Glen again. I'd love to be able to work in the media center. They have a beautiful facility. It looks like a mobile model home that's just been dropped into the middle of the infield. And I got just a passing view of it on the way to the emergency exit for the interview that we were able to scrounge together at the time. But people were very supportive, though. We had to kind of go underground a little bit. Again, big thanks to Claire B. Lang and Lee Spencer, who were the first two to come up and make sure that we did some promotions there with the track, as well as Andy Malmasaki and his crew for the tireless work on that segment that we did that year. But Watkins Glen is outstanding. It's very different from what I grew up with at Sears Point. It is very true that Watkins Glen is the super speedway of road courses, whereas Sears Point is very much the short track. I think Sears Point's closer to like an off-road race because the hills and dirt are such an obstacle there that it makes it a very different experience. But at Watkins Glen, there's just straightaways, guardrails, and 90-degree turns, and it is daring you to not completely annihilate your car in any of those portions. It's kind of amazing that the last couple of races there have been run as cleanly as they have been. Really speaks to the safety advancements in the sport and everything that's certainly happened there, certainly in the last number of years, especially at Watkins Glen itself. But that's a whole other story. Yeah, I'd love to do. I love road courses in general. We did see Canadian Tire last year for the Truck Series race. Glad we did, because who knows if that's even happening this year with the way things have gone. I don't know what is going on north of the border. But we covered that last year on our way to Darlington, and that was a fun one. So we'll look into doing some stuff like that. Love to get some new tracks ticked off the list. Probably some easier ones would be to do Las Vegas in the fall. And Texas is another one that I'd really like to mark off because we postponed that a couple of times even before all this happened. And we got some people that we want to meet up with on that and turn that into kind of a more productive trip as well. And on the same time, I also got another book I'm coming together, still trying to get the publisher deal reeled in there. But luckily with the pandemic here, one thing that it did allow us was a bit more time to kind of polish that up more and get that to be a follow-up to my first one. Also, again, for those of you, again, if you forgive, I've already done plug after plug, but I'll go ahead and plug it again. This is my first book here on J.D. McDuffie, J.D. the Life and Death of a Forgotten NASCAR Legend, the biography of driver J.D. McDuffie, who had the most starts in his career, 653 without a win, most last-place finishes from 1980 to 2014, tragically lost his life at Watkins Glen on the fifth lap of the Bud at the Glen in 1991. This is the first biography of him, as well as the first full account of what happened that weekend at Watkins Glen and the results of everything afterwards. Again, big thanks to Charlie and Andy and Linda and everybody else that was involved in the production of it, and working on having a good follow-up to this that will be on another driver who, however, is actually very much with us, but not ready to give any more details on that yet. But I think it's going to be something that's very much in the same spirit as the J.D. McDuffie book, and keep that going there. So again, big thanks to everybody for your support of the book. I actually just sold another one over the weekend here. I have it right over here set aside. So again, thanks to the person that picked that up, and that's going to be in the mail in the next few days if you're watching out here. So I think we about covered the race pretty well. It's quite a lot to talk about. Of course, sitting on this for a number of weeks, I'm sure you guys have any other questions on here. I'll go ahead and browse any other thoughts you guys have or anything else you'd like to talk about. We'll do a little bit of trivia here too. Again, like I say, I think for the post-race reviews, I'll probably put these on the main channel. And again, standalone commentary videos or ones where maybe a post-race thing doesn't fit. Like kind of like the Ryan Newman thing in Daytona definitely made me consider a different approach from the past disqualification show we did. we'll look forward to doing some more content, some more standalones there. As you know, if we have like a controversy or some other thing that would be up for a good debate, I think that's going to be on the second channel, which is Brock Car Racing. The link is in this YouTube channel here. But the main ones here for race reviews and the trivia nights that we've done, which have been very popular, and again, big thanks to you guys on that. I think we'll keep those here on the main channel here, because this one, of course, has all the subscribers and it's more likely to get seen. So we'll do that, and we'll grow the other channel as gradually as need be on that. Okay. So let me see here. Seeing your comment there, Keith. Book sold on the website. Yes, it is. Let me give you the link here, and I'll drop that in here for you. The article for Ricky Stenhouse is going to come up later tonight. I'll finish that up after the live stream here, and we'll get that. The link there, Keith, is right there. That'll give you the full details on where to pick it up. I have 5 copies in my current inventory, and it's also available on Amazon and other websites as well. Big thing with the ones that I have in my inventory, if you'd like it signed, I can absolutely do that and send that out to you direct from me here. If you also want it on Amazon, I believe they have they've marked it off a bit off the list price there, so you can save a couple bucks on that as well. So whatever you prefer. And again, even if you order it from another place and you wanted to get it signed afterwards, just let me know. My email's on the main part of the I think it's not on the top. Okay, it's in the middle there of the my website page there. So if you like to have your book signed, just reach out to me and we'll work something out there on that too. So the offers are all on there. We do not have another book signing scheduled for the JD book, as we are again working on this next one here. So hopefully what we'll be planning instead will be book signings on the next book, and we'll get that going. But I'm never going to be done with JD McDuffie. That's I'm still collecting pictures that I'm finding on Facebook from his career and other stories that I've been hearing along the way. There's a possibility perhaps of a second edition of the book at some point. Still no date on that yet, but efforts have been made to kind of get that going as well. And that will have even more stuff in it. So we're kind of working on that. But that'll be a different deal on that. Let's see. Did you use the virtual media center today? No, I did not. I didn't really look into that too much. I just saw the email pop up earlier today. What I was doing more was listening to the scanner and just my typical week-to-week one, where I have my Twitter page basically over here, leaderboard over here, and my scanner here, and then I listen to like the official and the driver channels at the same time, try to get the volumes matched there so I can hear them both as well as each other. Not too different. I mean, again, I think the one advantage that I have through this through my website is I'm very used to doing this remotely and not away from the track and having to work around this. So it hasn't really changed my strategy all that much. I like to do the trackside stuff to mix things up and make sure I can get in touch with people. Again, fortunately, I was able to do Fontana earlier this year to do some of that. But that's definitely the kind of thing I like to get that worked out. But yeah, I do have the scanner there on that. I still miss Race View. I know that they're talking about replacing that with something else. I don't know what the timeline is on that. I haven't heard anything more than you guys have, so we'll find out if anything happens there. But that's basically where we are on that, and that'll be interesting on that. Let's see. The bookstores. MLG Pro Swag. Yeah, I don't know if the book's been listed on IndieBound. I work with a very small publisher, so definitely wherever you buy the book, it's definitely going to support small publishing. But if smaller stores there, if you'd like to try to work on that, that's definitely something else you could. You're certainly free to pick it up anywhere. Also, you can also pick it up at Waldorf Publishing site directly. If you want to support them direct, that's a-okay as well. I believe Waldorf Publishing. Let me see if it's listed. I know they changed their branding recently. Let me make sure the link still works. Publishing.com. Okay, and it's under the 2018 books. There we go. Here we go. Yeah, Waldorf Publishing. I'll give you the direct link here. So if you want to pick the book up here at Waldorf's page, and if you want to, yeah, you want to go the independent route, I certainly respect that. this is a good place to check it out there. They just have it for the regular list price. You can also see other books that were published the same year as mine there, so you got they have a good library there. I think we had the only NASCAR book there, but it did very well in the beginning there, and the sales there. So again, very much appreciated there for all this support on that. Authors do not live a lavish lifestyle. I have learned that very much the hard way. So anything that gets the word out there to get any kind of traction with it, it's not a New York Times bestseller. We're not Oprah didn't put her sticker on it or anything like that, but it's done solid, and I'm very thankful for the progress on that. And I know it's only going to get better with other books that we produce here. This will be the first of a series of books. They're basically going to take a fresh look at aspects of NASCAR history that either aren't well understood or just need like a deeper review, really. And JD was certainly one of those cases. So I hope to bring that same level there for the next project and the ones afterwards. All right. So I know I've already teased this long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into it here. What I usually do on these videos, we've done trivia night before and have those be standalone videos, and this will be no exception. So we are going to jump into it. And because it was Darlington, we're going to use the Bill Elliott tribute trivia card with the little screen here. And the questions that get brought up are from the late 1990s. This is the 1999 paint scheme. The Bill Elliott also ran it in 2000 on the new Taurus. This is the older Taurus on here. And so we're going to have to see what questions we get. Now, I have another one that's a Trivial Pursuit, one that we usually do on these shows as well. That's also challenging. We'll shake things up here. We'll probably, I don't know how often we're going to be doing these live streams here with the other races. Wednesday's going to be a little tricky because I got work that night. So I'll probably just be working on the article after the race and then heading out there. But we'll do other live streams here where we can fit them in and see what we can do to cover, of course, all the action, because we're going to go from not having any racing to quite a bit of it in a very short period of time. And there's certainly worse things out there. So that's kind of where we're at on that. Daniel, yeah, if you're interested in the book, definitely check it out. It's you're definitely welcome to check it out. If you go to the Amazon page, there's a free sample of it there as well. I believe it gives you the whole prologue and a good amount of chapter 1. So it gives you a good idea of it. So definitely try before you buy. If it looks good, definitely go for it. I'd be happy to check it out. And if there's anything that you have concerns about, definitely let me know on that too. My DMs should now officially be open there. I didn't realize they weren't, but now they are. So the Twitter DMs are open, emails are open, anything on that. So yeah, the McDonald's Ford Taurus and the number 94 car, Bill Elliott. Saw his son Chase do well. Let's get our first question. True or false? Bill Elliott grew up racing on short tracks in Pennsylvania. True or false? Bill Elliott grew up racing short tracks in Pennsylvania. True or false? All right. True or false? We got true. Go ahead and jump into the comments there. Don't worry. Go ahead and put your guess on that. Make sure I hit the right button here. True or false? And the answer is false. False indeed. You would think maybe race in different places, but a long commute from Dawsonville, Georgia, all the way to Pennsylvania. Okay, next question. Okay, I think this is the same question again. Hang on. Let's get the next one here. Yeah, it's the same question. Hang on here. By the way, you guys like the mug here? This is why I brought this out of storage here. We got the old Winston Cup car in there. Mountain Dew Code Red on the inside. That's what I'm drinking today. I need to get enough caffeine to get through a full day. I haven't slept since 5 in the morning to 4 in the morning this morning for my lunch break. And before that, that was like 10 o'clock. So we're going all the way, folks. I'll tell you what. All right. Let's get the next one. Okay, come on. Code Red is the best. Yeah, you're right. I don't even like the green one that much. I thought I liked Mountain Dew Throwback when they did the because I remember drinking that for the last Southern 500, but the red one, I actually got some of the red actually from my coworkers there. They seemed to like it. They still they went through that pretty good. That helped get through the shift there for sure. We had a potluck the other day, so that was fun. Okay. Next. Okay, where's the... Okay, here we go. Can a driver contact his crew by radio? Okay, we're going a little too easy here. Can a driver contact his crew by radio? Can a driver contact his crew by radio? Or just buzz through that. Yes, of course the answer is yes. All right. Come on, how about this? Who was the driver that set 28 stock car speed records in 1971 on the Bonneville Salt Flats? Okay, well, we've stepped up from like a 1 to a 10 here. Okay, who was the driver that set 28 speed records in 1971 on the Bonneville Salt Flats? Okay. Who was the driver that set 28 speed records in 1971 on the Bonneville Salt Flats? That is a question. I think you guys got it. Bobby Isaac. Bobby Isaac. And the answer is indeed Bobby Isaac. Correct. 1970 series champion. All right. Now we got to go. Okay, here we go. What was Bill Elliott's car number in 1982? What was Bill Elliott's car number, his car number in the Cup Series in 1982? Bill Elliott's car number in 1982. I know it seems like a trick question if you're new here because you're seeing the number on the car, but it is most likely not that number. Empty chalice is a lonely chalice. Okay. You want to go 6? Okay. Yeah, it could be anything. The answer is number 9. Number 9. No trick question there. It would have been great if it were, though, wouldn't it? All right. Okay. Next question. Who was known as the, quote, clown prince of racing? Okay, now this, I've heard this moniker applied to several people. The clown prince of racing. Who was known as the clown prince of racing? I can think of, you know, yeah. I'm seeing some examples that are certainly good nominees. The clown prince of racing. According to the Bill Elliott car, so we're talking about the late 90s, who was the clown prince of racing? And it is saying was. So I presume that I guess either somebody that was not active or no longer with us in the late 90s. See, Eddie Sachs and Joe Weatherly are both like good candidates there. Dick Trickle's a possibility. DW, yeah. All right, let's see what the car says. The car says Joe Weatherly. It's going with NASCAR history. Joe Weatherly is the answer. Eddie Sachs is a good guy. I think Eddie had that moniker first. I mean, 1964 tragic year, of course, for both of them. But losing both Eddie and Joe Weatherly, as well as Dave McDonald on the IndyCar side there. What track has the richest purse? Question mark. What track has the richest purse? What track has the richest purse as of the late 1990s? Now, unfortunately, purse amounts aren't disclosed anymore because of our good friend, the charter system. But back in the late 90s, that was Fooey. So you could find out what the richest race was. What the track had the biggest purse in the late 90s. What track? Not necessarily the event. We got Daytona, we got Indy, Daytona and Indy. All right, any other guesses here? Let's wait to get a few more of them here. You say I'm planning on doing a post-race show Tuesday? I don't know if I'm going to do a post-race one for Tuesday. Probably not. I might just do the articles for that. Maybe we'll do a post-race show. Maybe we'll do just a trivia night, maybe on Friday. We'll see about something on that. I know there's not a race on Friday, but maybe something like a precursor to the 600. That's kind of what I'm looking at on that. Because what I'll probably be doing is I'll probably be spending more time getting these other videos set up here. So that'll be kind of what we're doing here. What track has the richest purse? The answer, the Brickyard. Indy, it wrote. Okay. So Indianapolis, of course. Indianapolis. If Ross wins, you better do a post-race show. Well, okay, maybe I will in that case. Maybe I will in that case. He might. I mean, certainly, Ross. I mean, you raise a good point. Ross Chastain had that Darlington race dead to rights, and he was driving for Ganassi, the DC Solar car. Still pretty upset at Kevin Harvick for wrecking him there, but put on a fantastic show out there and has continued to have a good show there. But we'll see what things look like there. I mean, again, it's just going to be tricky there. But yeah, the Xfinity race Tuesday and then the Cup race on Wednesday. Certainly not going to be able to do one after every single race. I think that's going to be a little difficult with things, but we'll find out. Next week's going to be really crazy. We'll be at the other location for the 600 and the other races then. So we'll look forward to that. Alrighty. Next question. What was Bill Elliott's car number in 1985? Bill Elliott's car number in 1985. Wouldn't say Harvick wrecked him. Harvick used lap car as a pick, and Ross wrecked himself and Harvick instead of lifting. Debatable. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it's, again, turn 2 is a tricky one. We saw that already today with Jimmy Johnson and Chris Buescher. I think it's really hard to point one way or the other. That one seemed like Harvick was pretty flagrant in that, but then again, they're both extremely hard charging drivers. It wouldn't surprise me entirely if it was, it was on both sides of the aisle there. I wouldn't say entirely on one, entirely on Chastain either, but I don't know, possibly. Indeed, the answer is number 9 there, of course, the number, again, 1985. Can't go 3 wide at Darlington. Kurt Busch did in 2003. He passed Elliott Sadler and Jeff Gordon. That was pretty crazy. Shouldn't have worked, but he did. I remember watching that with my roommate back in college then, and he was like, "Oh, Jeff Gordon's got this. He's out to lunch. It's over." And then all of a sudden, Elliott Sadler catches him, can't get around him, and Kurt Busch catches the both of them and gets around them. That was exciting. It's like, well, yeah. And then Gordon hit the wall and destroyed his car and didn't bring out a caution, thankfully, and we still got that epic finish. I believe that one was just posted at NASCAR's channel just recently. So for those of you who haven't seen it, it's certainly worth a watch, especially the last 50 laps or so. So that was exciting. All right, we'll do a few more here. What year did the Motor Racing Network, MRN, broadcast its first Daytona 500? What year did MRN broadcast its first Daytona 500? Here we go. We got some better questions here. What year did the Motor Racing Network, MRN Radio, broadcast its first Daytona 500? What year did that happen? 76, 62, 79. Any other guesses there? What year did MRN broadcast their first Daytona 500? 70, 63. Okay, we're all over the place. We got a good spread going here. Anybody else want to take any other guesses here? We'll hit the button here in just a moment. 76, 59. The answer is 1971. 1971. How about that? If I remember correctly, I guess MRN was celebrating their 50th anniversary last year because they had that special paint scheme on Sorensen's 77 car, which is a very understated paint scheme. That one didn't get a lot of attention, but it looked really nice in person on the Spire Motorsports machine. 1971 was the correct answer. Daniel, yep, you were really close. I think by Price is Right rules, you would get the point on that one. There. What is the length of Martinsville? Question mark. What is the length of Martinsville? The length of Martinsville. Yeah, it would be great if they ran Sears Point again this year, but unfortunately things didn't shake out there. I know a lot of people were critical of last year's race, and even I'll admit it wasn't the best race out there, but they weren't going to run that aero package this year. And I don't believe that there was a carousel that had anything to do with that. Everybody's very quick to forget that Watkins Glen was also boring last year because they ran that same package, and it was completely unsuited to road course racing. So they weren't going to run that this year, and I think it was going to be, if not a clean slate, certainly a fresh chance at giving another impression. I think we were going to be setting up for a pretty good race, and we still will next year because they're going to run these same cars next year, and hopefully with the same aero package that they were planning on doing this year. I think that's going to be a good measure, and I think it should show a return to competition versus last year's race. Last year's race, also, the other thing you got to forget is that it was a bit longer of a race, and it was very hot, and there were the passenger side windows made it dangerously hot, especially for small teams that couldn't afford cool suits. I still think that's going to be an issue, and we're probably going to see some of that in some of these races here this next month, where you got places like Talladega and Homestead and stuff that are going to be run in the dead of summer. And heat is going to be a huge issue, I predict. I hope it's not going to be a serious issue, but it does affect these teams very differently. And we saw a bit of that at Sears Point, and I don't know how much attention it got, but I think it should be something very troubling that needs to be addressed going forward. But we'll see what happens. I'd love to be wrong about that, but I think that's going to be a potential issue there. All right, and indeed it is 0.526 of a mile for Martinsville. Alrighty. Okay, no, we're not going to do another car number 1. That's too easy. Yeah, let's skip that. All right, how about we get one more here. Who was Rick Hendrick's first driver? Who was Rick Hendrick's first driver? First driver for Rick Hendrick. Who was his first driver for Rick Hendrick, Hendrick Motorsports? Jeff Bodine. Looks like you guys got it. Indeed, the answer is indeed Jeff Bodine. All right, let's see if we can get a good hard one here to kind of close it out. What is the length? Okay, no, it's Martinsville again. We did that already. Strike that. We'll start fresh. All right. Yep, we did that already. All right, next one. Yeah, that's not true and false. No. Let's see. Come on, let's get a good one. Yeah, that was not good either. Okay. What year did David Pearson win the, quote, most popular driver award? What year did David Pearson, the Silver Fox, win the most popular driver award? What year? Don't look it up on Google. What year did David Pearson win the most popular driver award, the Silver Fox? What year did David Pearson pull it off, the most popular driver? Last question that I hear. What year did David Pearson win most popular driver? Hey, thanks, guys. Glad you like the Ricky Rudd shirt. This one I actually had set aside to wear for the Atlanta race before it got postponed. So definitely, I told myself, look, when the race gets going again, I'm going to be wearing this one. So I dusted it off, and that's why I am wearing it today. All righty. Any of your guesses on what year David Pearson, the Silver Fox, won most popular driver? 79, 73, 74, 76, 75. Alrighty, here we go. The answer is 1979. 79, Beast of Metal. You got it, man. You got it right on. Okay. All right. Well, I am starting to get a little parched, so I'm going to call it good there for right now. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the race today and the live stream here afterwards. Stay tuned later tonight for the article there on the website, and we're going to do some more content there on the website in the days ahead. Again, YouTube channel, Brock Beard on there, Twitter at LastCarOnBrock, patreon.com/LastCarOnBrock. Until next time, last happens, and be safe out there, everyone.